to the first of a video series dedicated to the leading women of guitar playing throughout the past century. This lesson series is stemming off of a new podcast that I just released called Outside the Spotlight. The podcast focuses on what I believe some of the leading female guitarists of our past century, who they are, and their particular guitar styles that helped to create our music as we know it today. The very first artist that we're looking at, the foundation artist that we're talking about in episode 1, is Elizabeth Cotten. And what we discussed in that podcast is how she was able to alternate the low strings on her guitar and put that in combination with the high strings on her guitar to make it sound like multiple guitarists playing at once. And so this picking style, which is actually known as Cotten Picking, this finger picking style is something that I wanted to break down in a guitar lesson so that all the guitar players out there can learn this style and start using it to influence their own. So let's dive right into it. The chords that we are going to be using in this song, we are mostly working around a C chord and a G chord. But the particular C chord variation that we're going to start with is known as a C9. And the way that we play this is to take your middle finger to the 3rd fret of your 5th string and your index finger to the 2nd fret of your 4th string. So right there, if you already play guitar, you can see the foundation of our C chord. But instead of going to this 1st fret on the 2nd string, we're going to use your ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of your 2nd string. That's adding a D note to the chord, our 9th. And then we're going to take our pinky finger and put it on the 3rd fret of our 1st string. This is a high G. Now to get started, all I want us to do is put your hand in a finger picking position, which means index finger on the 3rd string, middle finger on the 2nd string, ring finger is assigned to this 1st string, and your thumb is going to take care of everybody else. Before we even get into the picking pattern, let's go through these chords. So we're going to move from this C9, and I want you to pluck your 5th string and top 3 strings all at one time. From the C9 chord, we're going to stay in pretty much the same position, but we're going to remove your pinky finger. That's adding a high E to the chord by opening up that 1st high E string. So we're going to now pluck those same strings, 5, 3, 2, and 1, but now with an open high E. From there, we're going to stay in this same C9 chord shape, but instead of plucking all of the previous strings, we are going to ignore that 1st string and play just our 5th, 3rd, and 2nd. And from here, we're going to move to your standard C major chord, which is ring finger on the 3rd fret of your 5th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of your 4th string, skip that 3rd string and put your index finger down on the 1st fret of your 2nd string. And we're going to play this similarly to how we did the last chord. Thumb is going to play the 5th string, 3rd and 2nd string are going to be plucked along with it. So just reviewing that C chord family, let's go through those basic shapes. Again, we're starting with a C add 9 or a C9, and we're going to pluck our top 3 strings along with our 5th string, and we're playing with our pinky finger down on the 1st string, 3rd fret of that 1st string. Lift that pinky finger up, play those same strings again. We're going to repluck those same strings, but this time without the high E string. So just your 5th, 2nd, and 3rd, and then to your C major. Now here we're going to move into our G chord family. To go into the G chord, the easiest thing for us to do is to use the G position where our ring finger holds down the 3rd fret of the 6th string, our middle finger holds down the B note, which is the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and your pinky finger holds down the 3rd fret of your high E string. We're taking this position because we are eventually going to move into a G7, which will have us utilizing our index finger. So by going into our G chord this way, we are set up for the chords that are coming up. When we pluck this G chord, we are only going to play our low 6th string with our thumb because it's taking the root of the chord. So our low G note right there on that 6th string, we want to pluck it with our thumb along with our 2nd string and our 3rd string. We're going to bring our ring finger back into the picture, and it's going to play 2 notes on its own. First, the 1st string, where we're holding down the 3rd fret with our pinky finger. We are now going to move into that G7 chord that I mentioned a little bit earlier by taking our index finger to the 1st fret of our 1st string. And we're going to pluck the high string along with our low 6th string. We're going to continue to work in this G7 shape, and we're going to actually use a couple connector notes to bring ourselves back to a standard C major. So we're returning to our G major chord. We're going to pluck our 1st, 2nd, and 6th string all together. We're going to then move back to that G7 chord, playing our 1st, 2nd, and 6th string together. And then we're going to put our pinky finger down on the 3rd fret of our 2nd string. This note right here, this is a D note, which is part of our G major chord. But again, we are going to ignore this high string whenever we pluck, and we are only going to play our 2nd and 3rd string along with our 6th string. Now we're transitioning back to our C major chord. And we're going to play our 2nd, 3rd, and 5th string together. Our last couple chords that we need for this song, we need an E major, which is us taking our middle finger to the 2nd fret of our 5th string, our ring finger to the 2nd fret of our 4th string, and index finger goes to the 1st fret of string number 3. We're going to bring our thumb down to that low 6th string again because that's where our E note is, the root of the E chord, and we're going to pluck our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string along with it. We're going to take our index finger out of our E major chord shape, just our index finger, bring it over to the 1st fret of our 1st string. So this is an F note. So you're going to play your high E string by itself, and then back to your E major chord by bringing your index finger back to that 3rd string on the 1st fret and replay that little 6th string along with your top 3 strings. Our last chord shape, our last new chord shape that is an F major chord. Now when we play this chord, we're going to use the sort of shortened variation of a full F bar chord. So what we're going to do is take the side of our index finger. So if you're pointing at me, the side of your finger that is facing up, you're going to take that side and put it across the 1st and 2nd string, both on the 1st fret. So you're holding down a high F and a high C, 2 of the notes that we need for an F chord. From there, we're going to take our middle finger to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string and our ring finger to the 3rd fret of the 4th string. Now, this is a trick that is partly optional, but it makes this song very cool. Elizabeth Cotten uses her thumb, wraps it around the neck of the guitar to hold down the 1st fret of her 6th string. This is a low F note. This allows her to use this sort of shortened variation but still add a low end to the chord. So when we go to this chord shape, you're going to again pluck your low 6th string along with your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string. Now your pinky finger is going to move up to the 3rd fret of your 2nd string. You're going to try to stay in this F chord shape as you put that pinky finger down on that 3rd fret of the 2nd string. But you are only going to play that note, that 2nd string note by itself. And then back to your F chord where we are going to pluck our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string along with our 6th string. that F with that cool low variation, that thumb variation, we're going to move right back to our C major chord. When we are on this C major chord, we're going to do a similar movement to what we did on our F chord. We're going to move our thumb, first of all, on our picking hand back to our 5th string, and we're going to accompany it with our 2nd and 3rd string. We're going to take our pinky finger and put that on the 3rd fret of our 2nd string. Same thing we did with the F chord. We're going to play it by itself, and then back to our standard C chord. Now we're returning to our G chord. Again, we're going to take the position where our ring finger goes to the low 6th string and you're holding down the 3rd fret, and you have your ring finger on the 2nd fret of your 5th string, and we're going to play our low 6th string with our thumb on our picking hand and use our index finger on the 3rd string and middle finger on the 2nd string. And then finally, to end our song, we're going to come right back to that C chord and play just our 5th, 2nd, and 3rd string together.